Trant Deep stands atop the stormy peak, feeling thunder energy gather around his calm heart. Sunset paints the mountain in crimson light as clouds swirl ominously above their heads. Tonight, Deep Thursday and Lamb Hao sit nearby, focusing on their own circulating spiritual energy together. Three companions prepare to witness Trant Deep's breakthrough into the long-awaited higher immortal realm now. The sky darkens and a chilling wind whips their robes like restless spirits circling unseen. Lightning coils like dragons, foretelling heavenly tribulation about to strike with unmatched power soon. Deep Thursday whispers softly, her voice trembling slightly but carrying unwavering concern for Trant Deep. "Are you ready, brother?" she asks, eyes glimmering under the flickering light of distant thunder. Trant Deep nods slowly, his calm voice steady like mountains. "I have awaited this moment." Lamb Hao draws his sword, spiritual flames flickering along its edge as he vows to protect. "Focus entirely," Lamb Hao calls. "We will guard you from beasts and distractions around here." Trant Deep inhales deeply, gathering the Lin Kuei energy inside, merging mind, body, and spirit. His inner sea of energy surges, waves of power colliding with heavenly pressure above him. Dark clouds roar as the first bolt descends, splitting the sky open with deafening sound. Lightning crashes into the mountain peak, shaking earth and scattering loose stones everywhere below. Trant Deep forms a shimmering barrier, channeling the strike into his meridians with discipline. Pain sears through his muscles, but his eyes burn with determination and vivid memories returning. Childhood poverty, his sick mother, years of humiliation all rise as fuel for inner strength. "I must grow stronger," he thinks, "to protect those I love and fulfill my destiny." Another thunderbolt falls, twice as strong, cracking his protective barrier and spilling blood. Deep Thursday gasps but remains still, channeling defensive arrays to shield from flying debris. Lamb Hao slashes down a lurking beast climbing, sending it tumbling into darkness below mountain. Trant Deep's spirit drifts inward, entering a starlit void of ancient floating characters surrounding him. A phantom ancestor appears, shimmering with blue light, voice echoing like bells across eternity. "Endure the storm," the figure intones, "for only tempered souls transcend mortal limits forever." Characters swirl into Trant Deep's Dantian, easing pain and expanding his consciousness beyond body. Outside, lightning still lashes the mountain like furious dragons testing his will with fire. Deep Thursday erects a glowing formation circle, runes spinning to block incoming spiritual predators. Lamb Hao battles relentlessly, his sword strikes flashing arcs of silver across the stormy ridge. More beasts converge, drawn by heavenly energy, eyes glowing red with hunger and desire. Trant Deep's barrier flickers, but his spirit glows brighter, harmonizing with thunder essence around him. He exhales slowly, drawing lightning directly inward, fusing it with his own immortal core. The mountain trembles violently under accumulated celestial power, rocks cracking like eggshells. Yet Trant Deep stands firm, robes fluttering like banners of an unyielding warlord beneath heaven. Another strike lands, shattering old scars within him, reshaping marrow and refining every cell. He channels all pain into focus, forging new pathways of energy under immortal guidance. Deep Thursday chants ancient words, her hands weaving protective light like threads across the battlefield. Lamb Hao blocks three charging beasts at once, unleashing a shockwave that drives them off cliff. "Hold on," Lamb Hao yells, "you're nearly there, just endure a little longer." The ancestor's voice in Trant Deep's mind grows softer yet more powerful, echoing truths of balance. "Lightning is not enemy but teacher," the voice says, "become one with the storm today." Trant Deep opens his arms, no longer resisting, inviting thunder to course through unguarded veins. Energy roars through him like oceans, tearing apart then reforging his inner world in brilliance. Blood steams off his skin as golden light spreads from his core outward slowly. Deep Thursday senses the shift, her heart racing with both fear and rising hope inside. Lamb Hao braces himself against violent gusts, aura shimmering with protective resolve unwaveringly. The final bolt gathers above, a monstrous dragon of pure white and blue celestial flame. Trant Deep closes his eyes, merging breath and thought, whispering silently, "Now I transcend." The bolt strikes directly, annihilating the barrier, engulfing him entirely in blinding radiance. For a heartbeat, silence rules, only swirling ash and sparkling motes of energy visible around. Slowly, light fades revealing Trant Deep standing unharmed, eyes glowing like twin suns combined. His aura expands outward, calm yet immeasurable, touching every tree, stone, and living creature nearby. Deep Thursday gasps, tears of relief rolling down her cheeks under gentle golden glow of energy. Lamb Hao lowers his sword, a smile forming despite exhaustion. He did it, truly did it. Tran Deep opens his palms, sensing vast rivers of energy flowing at his command now. I have crossed, he murmurs, but this is only the beginning of the greater path. Night wind carries the scent of ozone, a promise of new horizons and impending challenges. Deep Thursday steps closer, whispering, "We believed in you always, elder brother." Lamb Hao claps Tran Deep's shoulder, strength and loyalty shining in his weary eyes. Now, the world will change, Lamb Hao says, and we must be ready for its storms. They descend slowly from the shattered peak, watching thunder clouds dissolve into starlit skies above. Tran Deep feels each footstep lighter, like walking between worlds, mind attuned to hidden truths. He senses distant movements of sex and beasts, as though fate's currents speak directly inside. Memories of his childhood surface again, but with clarity, no bitterness, only deep resolve. He recalls his promise to protect loved ones, and to discover ancient mysteries behind his destiny. Deep Thursday adjusts her robes, glancing northward, where legends speak of celestial ruins awaiting. Lamb Hao unsheathes, then sheaths his sword, eager for the next trial of power and will. We must move quickly, Tran Deep says, before enemies sense my new strength clearly. The trio gathers their belongings. The mountain now silent except for faint humming energy. Sparks of residual lightning dance across stones, fading like memories of last night's struggle. Around their campfire, Tran Deep unrolls an old map showing forbidden lands shrouded in myths. Here, he points, celestial ruins, where I can stabilize my higher immortal breakthrough fully. Deep Thursday frowns but nods, understanding danger yet trusting Tran Deep's vision unconditionally. Lamb Hao chuckles softly. A dangerous path always suits us, doesn't it? Tran Deep smiles faintly, gazing at dancing flames reflecting in his newly brightened eyes. He feels currents of unseen destiny pushing them forward, toward uncharted realms of risk. Beyond mountains lie kingdoms, sects, and hidden enemies who will not ignore his rise. Deep Thursday traces protective symbols on her sleeve, preparing new formations for travel soon. Lamb Hao oils his blade, whispering names of fallen comrades like a quiet vow to them. Stars wheel overhead, silent witnesses to three figures bound by fate and courage tonight. Tran Deep meditates briefly, exploring new abilities. Sensing distant minds, hearing whispers of stones. He discovers subtle threads connecting all life, an intricate web of energy across creation. Power feels vast yet fragile, demanding wisdom and restraint lest chaos consume him completely. He resolves to grow not only stronger but wiser, leading with clarity rather than pride. Deep Thursday watches him silently, recognizing the shift from warrior to something greater unfolding. Lamb Hao feels humbled yet inspired, sensing they are part of a story beyond themselves. Night deepens, campfire dying low, but their hearts burn brighter with newfound purpose ahead. Tran Deep whispers inwardly, I will not waste this chance. The heavens have tested me. The wind carries his words across ridges, blending with lingering echoes of last thunderbolt above. Dawn approaches, painting sky with silver as the mountain prepares to release its guests. They shoulder their packs, stepping onto a narrow path descending into misty valleys below. Birds stir hesitantly, sensing immortal energy still clinging to the three travelers moving quietly. Tran Deep's eyes scan horizons, perceiving both threats and opportunities hidden in vast unknown. From this moment, he thinks, every step writes a new chapter of our saga together. Deep Thursday and Lamb Hao walk flanking him, silhouettes blending into morning's pale glow peacefully. They feel a bond forged in lightning and danger, unbroken and stronger than before ever. The mountain peak fades behind, leaving only memory of thunder and golden light behind them. Ahead lies the celestial ruins, a place whispered in legends where immortals vanish or ascend. Tran Deep straightens his back, feeling destiny calling louder, more insistent than ever before now. With steady steps, the trio disappears into the dawn, beginning the next phase of their journey. Cold northern winds slice the mountains as three travelers advance toward the forbidden ancient heavenly ruins. Tran Deep feels heaven and earth breathing beneath his feet, sensing ancient forces in every step. Deep Thursday studies the faded map, whispering warnings of deadly traps and lost souls inside. Lamb Hao grins with reckless excitement, eager to test his courage against the ancient unknown. Storm clouds swirl above jagged peaks, blue light flickering like eyes of forgotten spirits watching. Turn Deep halts suddenly, sensing invisible blades of soul-cutting energy hidden within the wind. His fingertips trace patterns on the ground, revealing hidden glyphs glowing beneath gray soil. Dipe Thursday raises a shimmering silver barrier, protecting their souls from cutting spiritual threads. Lam Hao tightens his grip on the sword, every muscle coiled like a predator's. The barrier flickers as ancient symbols shift, revealing 3 glowing points forming a triangle. Turn Deep breathes deeply, gathering energy, then releases 3 sharp strikes toward the triangle's vertices. The invisible net trembles like shattered glass, opening a narrow path into the ruins. Move quickly, Turn Deep orders softly, stepping through the gap without hesitation or fear. Lam Hao chuckles, but Dipe Thu's eyes stay serious, sensing danger lurking behind silence. Inside the barrier, the landscape transforms. Twisted trees, dark stones, oppressive spiritual pressure everywhere. Giant monoliths rise like frozen guardians, covered with runes older than mortal empires. At the center stands a crumbling temple, light spilling from cracks beneath its floor. Air grows heavy with ancient power, each breath weighted with invisible history and whispers. Lam Hao whispers in awe, "This must be the true ancient heavenly ruins." Turn Deep's boots click on spiral carvings. Echoes of lost civilizations vibrating through his soul. Faint voices murmur in his mind, calling from beyond time, pulling at his heart. "You finally arrived." The whisper floats like wind through old corridors, neither kind nor cruel. A translucent woman forms from green light, eyes ancient and sorrowful, lips trembling words. "Bloodline of heavenly path. Destiny awaits." She murmurs before dissolving back into mist. Dipe Thursday watches blankly, unable to see what Turn Deep alone perceives within visions. "Warning or invitation," he mutters, touching the cold air where she had been. They step into the broken temple, shadows lengthening like claws reaching toward their feet. A gust of freezing wind sweeps them into an illusory void, erasing the world. Countless floating lights swirl around, forming memories, regrets, and fears of their deepest hearts. A voice declares, "Prove your souls are unstained to enter the ancient heavenly ruins." Turn Deep faces visions of childhood poverty, betrayal, and his dying mother's eyes. He closes his eyes, channeling the heavenly path technique, shattering illusions like fragile glass. Dipe Thursday trembles before ghosts of family and failures, but clings to determination. Lam Hao roars against images of betrayal, forging his own will into an unbreakable blade. Light fades, leaving them in front of a monumental stone door carved with runes. The door grinds open slowly, releasing a scent older than mountains and stars. They enter a deep corridor lined with relics, broken swords, crystal jars, glowing fragments. Lam Hao's eyes sparkle with greed, but Turn Deep's warning stops his eager hands. "This is not a treasure hall, but a trial." His voice cuts the silence. A monstrous statue looms ahead, half beast, half man, clutching a black orb. The orb swallows surrounding light, radiating hunger like an endless abyss. Dipe Thursday shivers, sensing life pulsing within stones, as if walls breathe softly. Turn Deep touches ancient script, unlocking visions of celestial wars and fleeing immortals. Symbols flash before his eyes, forming a chant known as the ancient spiritual seal. A panorama unfolds. Sky burning, immortal armies collapsing, survivors sealing treasures inside these ruins. Lam Hao stares in disbelief, feeling history breathing through carved stone and floating dust. Suddenly black mist gushes from a crack, shaping into a monstrous guardian beast. Its roar vibrates their bones, fangs like knives of pure shadow slicing through the air. Turn Deep channels, sword energy in his right hand, barrier force in his left. Dipe Thursday throws talismans glowing silver, binding misty claws before they strike. Lam Hao leaps forward with his blade, aiming at the creature's smoky chest. The Guardian's attacks cut their spirits, draining courage like a bottomless sink. Turn Deep closes his eyes, sensing a tiny light pulsing inside the monster's heart. Gathering energy, he fuses both hands into a blazing seal of heavenly path. A green beam erupts, piercing the heart of mist, shattering shadow into fragments. The monster's scream echoes, then silence falls as it collapses into drifting black dust. The temple trembles, dust and stones raining down like frozen tears of time. Dipe Thursday steadies herself, pale but unbroken, clutching talisman papers with trembling fingers. Lam Hao spits blood, wiping his mouth, grinning through pain and victory. Turn Deep gazes at them, his voice steady. "Our path grows more dangerous from here." Dipe Thursday interrupts. We knew from the beginning. We stand together. Lam Hao adds, there's no turning back now. We've come too far to retreat. Turn Deep feels warmth in his chest, silent gratitude for their unwavering loyalty. Green light on the floor spirals, forming a luminous vortex swallowing shadows around. A staircase appears within the vortex, spiraling downward into endless blue radiance. Whispering winds rise, echoing distant calls from the hidden depths below. Turn Deep senses, this is the true entrance to the deepest secrets or doom. This path will decide our future, he whispers, eyes burning with resolve. Dipe Thursday breathes steadily, ready to descend, despite the weight of unseen destinies. Lam Hao cracks his knuckles. Finally, real action awaits below. They step closer to the vortex, feeling gravitational pull of ancient power. Each step deepens the humming in their ears, like celestial drums awakening. Symbols on surrounding walls ignite, lighting their faces with emerald glow. A sensation of falling yet rising spreads through their bones as they approach. The air turns liquid, flowing around them like translucent currents of time. They exchange brief glances, silent agreement forming stronger than spoken vows. Turn Deep grips his talisman tightly, sensing the ancient spiritual seal pulsing inside. Dipe Thursday activates her silver barrier again, prepared for unseen dangers below. Lam Hao draws his sword, pointing downward, eager but disciplined now. The vortex brightens suddenly, showing fleeting images of future battles and unknown faces. They take one more collective breath, then step into the swirling green portal. Weightlessness embraces them, tearing away remaining dust of the ruined temple above. Darkness swallows sight, but strange music floods their minds, soft and alien. Their hearts beat in rhythm with an ancient pulse, older than mountains. Faint stars appear around them, forming constellations that move like living beings. Time stretches and contracts, seconds feeling like years as they descend deeper. A glimmer of ground appears far below, shimmering like liquid jade. The smell of unknown herbs and metallic ozone fills their lungs. They finally land on a stone platform floating above endless void. Green flames burn silently in tall braziers, casting no heat, only eerie glow. Runic pillars rise around, creating a circle like an altar of forgotten gods. In the center stands another sealed door carved with the shape of a phoenix. Turn Deep approaches, feeling the seal respond to his bloodline's energy. Dipe Thursday steps beside him, murmuring prayers to stabilize her trembling aura. Lam Hao scans surroundings, watching for lurking guardians within shadows. The phoenix door pulses once, sensing their arrival, whispering fragments of lost prophecy. Air vibrates with energy so thick it almost hums like a living creature. All three sense destiny twisting ahead, a threshold between life, death, and transformation. Together, we go, Turn Deep says, quietly, touching the ancient door with steady palm. Emerald light flares, swallowing their figures, pulling them deeper into the mystery awaiting below. Flames shimmer across ancient pillars as Turn Dipe Thursday, Lam Hao enter Phoenix's second layer. The air glows crimson and orange, filled with strange warmth and faintly sweet burning scents. Dipe Thursday senses an unknown presence, instantly forming a protective barrier of phoenix fire symbols. Lam Hawk grips his sword tightly, feeling awe and fear at the same time. This is no ordinary floor, Turn Dipe warns, voice deep like a river of lava. Sparks snake through the cracks of the stone ground, pulsing with hidden power and memories. The three slowly advance, hearts beating with tension, eyes scanning every flaming column carefully. In Turn Dipe's mind, an echoing bird call sings from countless centuries of forgotten time. A phoenix domain, he whispers, realizing they stand inside a living creature's spiritual territory. Lam Hao exhales sharply, awed yet frightened by the burning immensity surrounding their small forms. Suddenly the sky splits open, pouring down a cascade of shimmering firelight streams. From within flames, a colossal phoenix appears, wings spanning across the entire horizon. Its eyes blaze like twin suns, gazing down with judgment older than mountains. Dipe Thursday trembles, Phoenix Fire Spirit. She gasps, recognizing the legendary creature's essence. It's only a spirit, Turn Dipe murmurs, but powerful enough to end us. The phoenix circles them slowly, testing their courage before unleashing divine flame. Heat rises like a living tide, cracking their defensive circle's outermost layer. Dipe Thursday strengthens the shield, chanting ancient runes with trembling but determined hands. Lam Hao swings his sword, sending a wave of sword energy cutting the fire. The phoenix roars, feathers scattering sparks like meteors falling from burning skies. Dipe remembers the ancient mantra, Phoenix fire guides blood's resonance. He gathers energy, forming a blazing whirlpool of red light around his body. We can't hold on. Dipe Thursday shouts as flames close in tighter. Dipe leaps directly into the firestorm, abandoning all hesitation and fear. Flames engulf him completely, but instead of pain, he feels ancient voices singing. Red light transforms into golden light, merging with his heartbeat's rhythm. Dipe Thursday and Lam Hio watch stunned, unable to believe their companion survives. A tiny phoenix sigil glows upon Dipe's forehead, shining like molten gold. The phoenix halts midair, folding its wings in acknowledgement of his hidden lineage. You carry ancient blood. Its voice echoes inside his head, fiery yet calm. Prove your worth, the phoenix demands, for fire spares no weak soul. Dipe stands firm, letting his aura merge with the creature's ancient flames. A cyclone of sparks surrounds both, turning battlefield into a glowing sun. He endures the trial, channeling his rage, sorrow, hope into purified energy. After long moments, the phoenix bows slightly, acknowledging his victory and courage. Fire recedes, revealing a single burning feather left upon the scorched ground. He picks it up carefully, feeling key-like power pulsing through the quill. We must continue, he tells Dipe Thursday and Lam Haihu, voice newly steady. Both companions nod, sensing a new authority in his fiery aura. They walk toward a swirling spiral door of living flames ahead. What is this? Lam Hai whispers, mesmerized by the spiraling inferno gate. Heartfire gate, Dipe answers. We face our inner flames beyond here. Dipe Thursday clenches fists, determined not to falter despite unknown terrors ahead. He inserts the phoenix feather into the vortex center, activating hidden mechanisms. Light explodes outward, a final phoenix cry echoes as gateway opens fully. A powerful pull drags all three into the swirling firestorm of fate. Space shatters around them, splitting each into separate realms of trial. Dipe finds himself alone upon a burning plain under a black sky. Before him stands another figure, identical face but eyes glowing with bloody fire. I am you, the dark double says, all hatred and hidden desires. Dipe realizes he must conquer his own shadow to proceed further. The dark twin strikes first, summoning black serpents of flame spiraling outward. Dipe counters with golden phoenix wings, fire swirling like a protective storm. Light and darkness collide, thunderous shockwaves tear across the flaming plain violently. Every strike feels like striking his own heart, testing will and soul. He recalls friends, mentors, sacrifices fueling his resolve to purify inner fire. Slowly dark flames crack, weakening under pressure of his luminous determination. A final burst of golden wings shatters the shadow entirely into embers. In its place floats a small, clear flame, his purified heartfire essence. He reaches out, allowing the clear flame to merge into his chest. Symbols shift on his forehead, forming a new half-red half-gold spiral mark. At that instant, he feels stronger yet calmer, balanced between rage and serenity. Around him, the burning plain fades, revealing original Phoenix Hall surroundings. Nearby Dipe Thursday reappears, sweat-covered but eyes glowing with renewed confidence. Lam Ha emerges too, hands trembling but aura far steadier than before. We passed, Dipe Thursday breathes, relief mixing with wonder at transformation achieved. And we grew stronger, Lam Hio adds, gripping his sword firmly. Dipe glances toward a newly opened doorway, glowing silver-white light. Beyond lies the next trial, no longer red flames but moon-like brilliance. It's time, he says softly, yet voice carries the weight of destiny. The three approach the silver-lit portal together, steps synchronized in newfound unity. Behind them, Phoenix cries echo faintly, fading into timeless distance. Fire pillars dim, acknowledging their departure with subtle shimmers of golden ash. Dipe feels the Phoenix's power still burning in his heart steadily. Dipe Thursday touches his arm briefly, silently showing trust after shared ordeals. Lam Haiho scans surroundings, sensing hidden currents of spiritual energy still swirling. They pause a moment, breathing in the last warmth of the Phoenix Hall. We survived the Heartfire, Dipe Thursday murmurs, but will we survive the next? Dipe smiles faintly, eyes already fixed on the glowing future ahead. He recalls Phoenix words. Don't betray the fire I placed within you. Determination steadies his heartbeat, matching rhythm of his new spiral mark. They step closer to the portal, its surface rippling like liquid silver fire. Heat gives way to cool radiance, signaling a shift of elemental domain. Lam Hyo whispers a prayer to his sword, readying for unseen threats. Dipe Thursday straightens, adjusting protective talismans acquired through endless trials. Turn Dipe grips the phoenix feather, now glowing softly in his palm. Together they cross threshold, silver fire swallowing their silhouettes into bright void. As they vanish, Phoenix Hall collapses back into silence and sleeping embers. A distant echo of wings signals end of one chapter, start of another. Within the void, memories of trial flicker like fading sparks of destiny. Turn Dipe feels both emptiness and fullness, a paradox he cannot yet explain. Ahead, glimpses of new landscapes, flash mountains of crystal, rivers of starlight awaiting. He breathes deeply, steadying spirit for the ultimate confrontation promised by destiny. Dipe Thu's voice echoes faintly across void, reassuring him they're still connected somehow. Lam Hyo's determination radiates too, forming invisible bonds stronger than spoken vows. The portal begins forming a shape, a bridge between trials and truth. Step by step, the trio walks toward the unknown, leaving fire behind. Shadows dissolve, revealing a horizon of silver peaks and whispering winds. The next realm awaits, but their hearts burn with phoenix fire eternal. Chapter ends with them stepping into light, destiny's path unfolding under their feet. Turn Dipe stands quietly on the cliff, eyes fixed on the stormy horizon before him. Lightning flashes across the sky, revealing ancient runes carved into the jagged stones beneath his feet. The wind howls like a beast, carrying whispers of forgotten immortals and long-sealed secrets. His robes flutter violently, yet his stance remains calm, unshaken by the tempest around him. Memories of his lost friends echo within, fueling his resolve to uncover the hidden truth tonight. A strange glow emerges from the deepest part of the valley, pulsing like a living heart. Turn Dipe takes a deep breath, feeling the rhythm of the energy vibrate through his bones. His hand brushes the hilt of his sword, the blade humming softly in answer to unseen power. He steps forward, each footfall resonating with the mountain's ancient spiritual veins below. The clouds part momentarily, revealing a celestial gate shimmering faintly in the darkness. A low chant echoes, distant yet clear, calling his true name from beyond the mortal plane. Turn Dipe's aura flares, a calm blue light wrapping him like a protective shell of intent. He senses another presence, hidden but powerful, watching his every movement with silent interest. The air grows colder as a spectral figure materializes, cloaked in fragments of starlight and shadow. Their eyes meet, and time seems to stretch into an endless corridor of fate and memory. The figure speaks of a trial, an ancient test left by the first immortal emperor himself. Turn Dipe listens carefully, aware this moment will shape the next 100 years of his path. He bows slightly, acknowledging the weight of destiny pressing upon his still mortal shoulders. The ground trembles, and pillars of light rise, forming an arena of shifting illusions and truth. Symbols swirl around him, each rune representing a hidden law of heaven and earth combined. He steadies his breathing, focusing his mind like a blade, honed over countless silent nights. The first illusion attacks a phantom of his childhood self, weak and uncertain. With a single gesture he dispels it, cutting away fear like slicing through morning mist. The second trial appears. An endless staircase spiraling upward beyond sight and reason. Each step weighs heavier, testing his endurance, willpower, and the purity of his cultivation heart. Sweat beads on his brow, yet he climbs steadily, never once looking back into the abyss. Voices taunt him, echoes of old doubts, but he answers with silence and an unwavering gaze. At the staircase peak he finds a mirror, reflecting countless versions of himself in pain. He draws his sword and pierces the mirror, shattering illusions and freeing imprisoned fragments. A surge of celestial ki floods him, washing away fatigue and sharpening his spirit's edge. The third trial manifests. A battlefield littered with broken swords and cries of lost souls. He walks calmly, offering silent respect, before the battlefield erupts with ghostly adversaries. Each foe represents betrayal, loss, or hatred he once endured during his mortal journey. One by one he defeats them, his blade singing a song of acceptance and transformation. The ghosts dissolve into motes of light, coalescing into a path toward the arena's center. In the center stands a throne carved of crystal and flame, empty but radiating supreme authority. Turn Dipe approaches, feeling a strange gravity tug at his every step forward. As he touches the throne, visions of cosmic rivers and spinning worlds flood his consciousness. He understands new laws of balance, weaving them into his cultivation core instantly. The throne dissolves, leaving a seed of light hovering before his chest like a newborn star. This seed pulses with unimaginable power, promising both enlightenment and terrible responsibility. The spectral figure reappears, now kneeling, acknowledging Turndipe as worthy successor. Yet a final test remains. To give up everything or embrace his new immortal name. Silence stretches. Only the heartbeat of the seed echoes within the collapsing arena. Turndipe closes his eyes, remembering the faces of those who gave him strength. He inhales deeply, choosing the path that aligns with compassion rather than selfish ambition. The seed expands, merging with his spiritual core, igniting a luminous transformation within. His robes shift from gray to deep sapphire, symbols of the celestial gate appearing at the hem. A column of light erupts skyward, tearing apart the storm clouds and revealing countless stars. The mountain shakes, but Turndipe stands unshaken, embodying a new force of equilibrium. Across the realm, cultivators sense the shift, turning their eyes toward the distant mountain. In hidden halls, ancient sect leaders whisper of a prophecy finally fulfilled this night. The spectral figure bows, dissolving into pure energy and sealing its legacy within him. He opens his eyes, now glimmering with a clarity that pierces illusion and truth alike. Around him, the arena fades, returning him to the cliff where the trial first began. The storm subsides, leaving only a soft rain and the scent of pine and stone. Turndipe exhales, feeling older yet freer, like a chain has been quietly lifted away. He notices a small talisman on the ground, glowing faintly with residual spiritual power. The talisman bears the crest of an unknown sect, hinting at deeper conspiracies ahead. He pockets it, already planning his next move and the questions he must answer. A hawk cries overhead, circling once before vanishing into the night clouds. The wind calms, and the mountain feels alive, breathing in rhythm with his own chest. His sword hums softly, resonating with the new energy coursing through his meridians. He senses distant allies, their auras faint but supportive, calling him back to the mortal realm. He turns, the valley below now a tapestry of mist and hidden paths illuminated by moonlight. His thoughts drift to Lian Aqiang and Triu Van, wondering how their journeys unfold. A flicker of worry crosses his face, quickly replaced by determination to protect them. He leaps from the cliff, gliding on threads of spiritual wind like a silent arrow. Each breath draws celestial ki deeper into his body, stabilizing the seed within. He recalls the spectral figure's final words, cryptic but heavy with meaning yet to unfold. As dawn approaches, the first rays of sunlight catch on his blade's polished edge. The mountains glow gold, echoing his own inner transformation from mortal to transcendent. Far away, dark forces stir, sensing his rise and plotting countermeasures in hidden layers. A council of masked figures debates, fearful of the balance shifting beyond their control. In a forgotten temple, an oracle writes his name in fire, sealing a new chapter of destiny. Turndipe lands softly beside a rushing river, its sound grounding him in the present moment. He kneels, cupping the water in his palms, seeing stars reflected in the surface. He vows silently to uphold justice, even when shadows tempt him with power. The seed within him pulses, acknowledging his vow with a subtle, radiant warmth. He rises, sensing an approaching storm. This time not of weather but of war. In the distance, banners flutter, armies assembling under an ominous crimson sky. He knows his path will cross theirs, but not yet. Preparation must come first. He draws symbols in the dirt, plotting routes and strategies only he can fully see. His sword glows faintly, showing visions of allies waiting in secret strongholds. He breathes deeply, letting the river's song synchronize his pulse and spirit. A fox spirit appears briefly, tail flicking, leaving behind a single white feather. He picks it up, sensing a connection to a future guide or test of loyalty. The sun climbs higher, burning mist from the valley and revealing hidden ruins. He recognizes the ruins from an ancient scroll once read in the sect library. Determined, he sets out toward them, footsteps sure despite the uncertain path ahead. His aura blends with the forest, birds unafraid as he passes like a whisper of wind. Thoughts of vengeance soften into clarity, realizing true strength comes from balance and wisdom. He recalls his teacher's last lesson. Power without compassion is merely another chain. A gentle smile crosses his lips, rare but genuine, as he continues on his journey. The path narrows, winding between stones etched with celestial maps and hidden directions. He deciphers each sign, piecing together the next stage of his cultivation. A distant bell tolls, marking the hour when realms overlap and veils thin. He accelerates, leaping across streams and ridges with effortless grace. In his heart, determination burns steady, a light no darkness can easily extinguish. The scene fades as Turn Deep disappears into the glowing forest, beginning the next chapter of his legend. Morning wind carries pine fragrance as Tran Deep opens eyes, feeling new power quietly circulating. The seed of luminous energy glows softly within his core, beating slowly like a hidden star. A vivid dream of countless swords and a colossal stone gate lingers inside his restless mind. He senses the ancient sword sect's secret realm calling, or perhaps destiny shaping his path. Walking down the narrow mountain trail, each step feels balanced between mortal and immortal worlds. Streams murmur nearby, blending with rustling trees to form a serene yet mysterious soundscape. Scents of incense drift faintly, hinting at rituals performed by other cultivators earlier today. Reaching a deep valley, he sees a stone gate carved with thousands of intersecting swords. This hidden entrance opens only once a century, offering chances and dangers in equal measure. Many cultivators gather before the gate, including Lin Huang and Tru Van standing silently nearby. Their eyes meet briefly, acknowledging shared trials and unspoken memories from past challenges. A gray-bearded elder lifts his staff, voice booming like thunder across the crowded valley floor. Secret realm soon opens, he warns. Inside are endless fortunes, but equal perils waiting. The earth shakes as sword engravings along the gate ignite with shimmering blue light waves. A gust of blade-like air slices through clouds, forcing weaker disciples to retreat, trembling. Tran Deep steadies his breath, the seed within humming softly to the gate's violent aura. Memory of the spectral figure S-words echoes. Only harmony of light and sword can survive. As the gate yawns open, powerful cultivators surge forward without hesitation or backward glance. Lin Huang casts him a worried look, while Tru Van smiles calmly, hand resting on his sword. They step together into the gateway, entering a corridor of floating swords and dense spiritual mist. Each blade hums with ancient power, some glowing faintly, others rusted but still deadly sharp. Spiritual pressure grows heavy, pressing down like an ocean yet singing an ancient hymn to him. The seed of light inside him vibrates, synchronizing with the surrounding sword energy's rhythm. After many steps, the group splits naturally into smaller teams seeking their own destinies. Tran Deep chooses to follow Lin Huang and Tru Van toward a circular square ahead. In the square's center stands an altar carved with a Taiji symbol, holding a mossy ancient sword. Lin Huang clutches her chest, whispering, "That sword feels alive. Staring directly into my soul." Tru Van murmurs, "Could this be the ancient sect's suppressing sword from old legends?" Tran Deep senses the sword's resonance with his inner seed, like two long-lost melodies meeting. Suddenly, hostile cultivators rush from shadows, greed burning in their eyes like hungry flames. "That sword belongs to me," shouts a black-robed man, launching a vicious palm strike forward. Tran Deep draws his blade swiftly, deflecting the attack in a thunderous clash of forces. Lian Huang casts protective barriers while Tru Van counters with precise strikes of flowing steel. The ancient sword vibrates violently, releasing a surge of light blending with Tran Deep's aura. The seed of light merges with the sword, pouring ancient memories into his awakened mind. He glimpses visions of glorious battles and long-forgotten sword doctrines of countless generations. But the altar collapses, activating a hidden mechanism dragging everyone into deeper chambers below. They fall through a tunnel of light, weightless yet surrounded by roaring winds and shifting images. Landing hard on marble floors, they find themselves inside a vast hall of carved runes. Sword energy here is tenfold stronger, slicing through air with invisible edges like razors. Before them stands a colossal statue of a swordmaster raising a weapon toward endless skies. Its eyes glow suddenly, and a deep voice speaks of the Seven Swords formation trial ahead. 7 concentric circles form underfoot, swirling with storms of blade light and shimmering runes. "This is the Seven Swords formation," Tru Van mutters, gripping his hilt tighter. Lin Huang steps back slightly, sensing the overwhelming force emanating from the ground. Tran Deep exhales slowly, hand on his newly bonded sword, whispering, "I came to learn, not retreat." Stepping into the first circle, 7 sword phantoms materialize, each with distinct style and power. One strikes like lightning, another flows like water, each testing a different aspect of his heart. He parries and counters, learning through movement, his sword becoming extension of his intent. With each clash, the seed of light brightens, fusing deeper into his meridians and mind. Sweat drips down, but his eyes grow calmer, heart like still water beneath stormy skies. Lin Huang and Tru Van confront their own trials within adjacent circles simultaneously. Every defeat or mistake refines his technique, turning loss into stepping stones for mastery. Hours blur, blade echoes filling the hall like an endless chorus of metal and wind. Finally, with a decisive strike, he shatters the last phantom, the formation dissolving into light. The statue bows slightly, acknowledging his heartsword's purity and determination beyond illusion. A beam of celestial power descends, merging ancient sword intent into his luminous seed. His cultivation rises another step, meridians expanding, aura deepening with calm and lethal grace. Lin Wang and Tru Van also gain lesser transmissions, their eyes shining with new comprehension. The hall fades, transforming into a serene grassland beneath mountains shaped like giant swords. Clouds drift low, resembling coiling dragons winding around the peaks above their heads. Tran Deep inhales deeply, feeling the seed bloom into a radiant swordflower inside his core. He recalls the spectral warning. Entering this realm means your destiny is no longer your own. The three companions share a moment of silent understanding, each sensing a future trial approaching. Far away, legend speaks of the Sword Star Sea hidden at the realm's deepest point. Its endless sword spirits hold truths of heaven, but also tests none have yet survived. Tran Deep gazes toward the distant peaks, determination hardening like tempered steel within him. A breeze sweeps across the grass, carrying scents of earth, steel, and blooming spirit flowers. His heart feels like a calm mirror lake, yet deep currents swirl unseen below the surface. Lin Wang breaks silence softly. We should rest briefly before venturing deeper. Tru Van nods. Each step here reshapes us. Rushing blindly will invite disaster. They sit together, sharing quiet food while the luminous seed stabilizes in his body. In meditation, Tran Deep senses countless threads of sword intent weaving into his meridians. Visions of cosmic rivers of swords appear behind his closed eyelids, whispering ancient truths. He focuses on compassion, remembering faces of those who once guided or sacrificed for him. The seed glows warmer, responding to his balanced heart, rather than greed or fear. Rising again, he feels taller somehow, like a mountain planted firmly into the earth. A hawk circles overhead, crying sharply, then vanishing into the faraway blue. The path ahead is ours to carve, he murmurs, gripping his sword with renewed strength. Grass shimmers under sunlight, mirroring his own inner light blooming with steady confidence. Somewhere in the realm, darker forces stir, sensing his rise and plotting countermoves unseen. Ancient sect leaders whisper about a new swordbearer fulfilling prophecies written in forgotten eras. Tran Deep draws lines in soil, mapping possible routes toward the Sword Star Sea beyond. Lin Wang watches quietly, trusting his instinct while adjusting her own talismans and seals. Tru Van sharpens his blade, eyes distant as if foreseeing storms waiting on the horizon. The three stand together, forming a triangle of mutual trust amid a sea of uncertainty. Tran Deep feels the realm's pulse beneath his feet, sinking like a heartbeat of cosmic scale. A white fox spirit appears briefly, tail flicking before leaving behind a glimmering feather. He picks it up, sensing a connection to future guidance or a subtle test of loyalty. The mountains glow gold as sun shifts, revealing hidden runes etched upon their massive flanks. He reads the signs, deciphering ancient directions leading deeper toward the core of the realm. Each word resonates within, hinting at a legacy older than any known sect or empire. He glances back once at his companions, gratitude flickering across his usually calm face. "We move at dawn," he declares softly, yet his voice carries like rolling thunder. Night descends slowly, stars emerging above like countless sword tips piercing the velvet sky. Tran Deep meditates again, merging new teachings into his luminous seed until it hums steadily. Dreams show him a bridge of swords spanning galaxies, a path only he can walk. He wakes before sunrise, sword already in hand, ready to carve destiny's next chapter. Lin Wang and Tru Van rise with him, silent but resolute, eyes shining with inner fire. Together they step forward into misty grasslands, beginning the next stage of their extraordinary journey. Dawn breaks over endless grasslands, sword aura rising as Tran Deep's meditation finally ends calmly. Lian Aiqiang sits silently beside him, her robes fluttering, eyes closed, sensing incoming mysterious trials ahead. Tru Van sharpens his blade slowly, its metallic ring echoing across the quiet morning battlefield sky. Tran Deep inhales deeply, feeling the sword star energy flow inside his body like liquid light. The trio gaze toward distant shimmering horizon, where legend speaks of the sea of sword stars. Mountains split apart, forming narrow paths covered with ancient runes glowing faintly under their footsteps. Each glowing rune whispers forgotten chants, revealing fragments of sword law carved by immortal masters. Tran Deep recalls dreamlike vision, guiding him toward hidden destiny within the mysterious Sword Star Sea. Lian Hiong whispers softly, questioning whether this path is chosen or forced by ancient fate. Tri Yuvan answers sternly, declaring no turning back exists once crossing sacred sword threshold today. At Canyon's end appears a colossal gate forged entirely from starlight and condensed sword aura. Thousands of luminous blades form shifting archways, slicing air with silent yet terrifying force. Lian Hiong trembles, slightly sensing monstrous sword pressure enveloping their entire beings within seconds. Tri Yuvan steps forward boldly, his hand gripping hilt, eyes steady despite overwhelming sword intent. Tran Deep touches, glowing starlit gate, feeling resonance with hidden spark dwelling deep inside. Together they stride beyond luminous barrier, entering dimension where sword energy forms oceanic waves. Instead of water, endless floating swords shimmer like stars reflecting infinite cosmic currents. Above them, galaxies swirl forming giant sword shapes radiating blinding silver and blue light. Pressure crushes their shoulders, forcing Lian Hiong to channel spiritual energy defending fragile body. Tri Yuvan raises protective aura, his blades singing, creating shimmering shield-blocking piercing sword currents. Tran Deep's inner spark vibrates intensely, harmonizing with sword tides instead of resisting force. He realizes this realm tests hearts first, strength second, demanding pure intention to survive ordeal. Suddenly illusions rise from Sword Ocean, forming perfect replicas of each traveler's inner shadow. Lian Hiong confronts icy version of herself, eyes glowing crimson, striking with merciless blade. Tri Yuvan faces ambitious double craving domination, challenging his discipline and iron resolve fiercely. Tran Deep meets dark self willing to destroy everything, eyes burning with hunger for power. Each clash slices deeper than flesh, cutting memories, fears and doubts into shimmering fragments. Sword clashing sounds echo like celestial bells, shaking entire sea of sword stars dimension. Lian Hiong bleeds spiritual light, refusing surrender, embracing compassion to dispel frozen arrogance. Tri Yuvan roars defiance, merging loyalty with courage, dispelling phantom craving ruthless supremacy. Tran Deep steadies breath, recalling master's teachings, focusing on protecting, not conquering, heart clear. His spark blossoms into radiant starflower, sword intent becoming gentle, yet infinitely sharp simultaneously. Dark self dissolves, leaving crystal shard shaped like star hovering before his palm. Lian Hiong and Tri Yuvan gain their shards, representing ancient sword intents long forgotten. 3 shards join forming triangular sigil spinning, humming secret melodies of primordial sword law. Ocean trembles violently, birthing monstrous entity forged from countless swords and stellar energy. The star sword beast emerges roaring metallic thunder, sending thousands of shimmering blades outwardly. Tran Deep leaps upward, creating vortex of sword light shielding companions from incoming storm. Lian Hiong invokes Sealing Array, glowing runes rise forming net restraining creatures' movements briefly. Tri Yuvan strikes swift counterattacks, his blade splitting sword waves like lightning splitting storm. The beast adapts, shattering seals, roaring with rage, unleashing whirlwind of cosmic blades. Tran Deep channels newly learned Sword Star Tao, merging with spark, unleashing unprecedented strike. His blade arcs across heaven, star-like trails forming comet, slicing monsters' armored hide. Lian Hiong amplifies Array, sending binding chains of starlight piercing beasts' massive wings simultaneously. Tri Yuvan dives through chaos, stabbing hardcore, igniting explosion of shattered sword fragments. Entire ocean ripples, sword stars rising like tidal wave, swallowing creatures' dying scream. Finally beasts bursts apart, raining countless glowing fragments, dissolving into calm stellar mist. In silence, only 3 heroes remain standing upon shimmering path of condensed sword energy. A staircase of light forms ahead, leading toward deeper center of Sword Star Sea. Lian Hiong exhales relief yet eyes determined, knowing next test lies beyond luminous stairs. Tri Yuvan wipes sweat and blood from brow, blade humming with renewed silent power. Tran Deep examines merged shards now embedded within his spark, radiating soft golden aura. He senses stronger bond to cosmic sword principles, clarity of purpose sharpening inner will. Together they ascend first steps, each footstep revealing hidden runes beneath glowing floor. Surrounding space transforms into vast sword universe filled with spiraling constellations shaped as blades. Tran Deep feels every step engraved deeper understanding of universal sword path within soul. Lian Hyeong touches floating sword constellation, momentarily seeing ancient masters forging celestial weapons. Triyu Van closes eyes, absorbing resonant humming, guiding his blade toward perfect synchronicity. At staircase summit awaits crystal altar, shining with galaxy condensed into transparent sword form. This is legendary Sword Star Master, Heart of Realm holding ultimate key of sword. A voice from void booms, questioning their resolve, offering unimaginable power but demanding eternal burden. Lian Hyeong hesitates yet nods. Triyu Van steadies blade, both gazing at Tran Deep silently. Tran Deep steps forward alone, spark glowing brighter, breathing steadily despite crushing cosmic pressure. He reaches altar, fingertips grazing sword of stars, feeling universes collide within his mind. Infinite sword intense flood body, threatening to shatter consciousness into scattered fragments across galaxies. Memories flash, mentors, friends, promises, quiet moments beneath moonlit courtyards, echoing ancestral words. He remembers oath. Sword to protect, not dominate, anchoring himself amid endless stellar storm. Gradually pressure yields, blending with spark, forging harmony between mortal heart and cosmic blade. Sword Star Master rises, floating above altar, lowering point toward Tran Deep's waiting hands. He grips hilt, stars swirl, robes flutter violently, yet his stance remains calm, unbroken. Starlight explodes outward, illuminating sea of sword stars, revealing hidden paths and sealed doors. Lian Hyeong shields eyes from brilliance. Triyu Van steadies stance against rushing cosmic winds. Tran Deep's aura expands, forming giant star sword silhouette enveloping his entire being entirely. The Sword Star Master dissolves into pure intent, merging permanently with his inner spark. Waves of sword energy recede, leaving tranquil starlit ocean and clear sky above. He descends gracefully, new power pulsing quietly, yet undeniably within his awakened soul. Lian Hyeong senses transformation, offering quiet smile recognizing maturity gained through perilous trial. Triyu Van bows slightly, acknowledging new leader, emerging stronger from cosmic ordeal endured. Tran Deep lifts gaze toward distant shimmering doorway appearing beyond calm sea of stars. Pathway leads deeper into realm, promising even greater secrets, tests and ultimate revelations, soon. Three companions stand side by side, hearts aligned, forging unbreakable bond through shared trials. Lian Hyeong murmurs about fate intertwining them, like constellations weaving patterns across timeless night. Triyu Van promises loyalty beyond death, voice steady as tempered steel of his sword. Tran Deep answers softly, valuing friendship above victory, believing compassion strengthens blade's true edge. Stars above shift, forming new constellation, resembling sword pointing forward, guiding chosen path. Ocean of swords hums approvingly, ancient echoes resonating. The journey truly begins now. Tran Deep steps first onto glowing bridge, its light carrying them across silent void. Lian Hyeong follows, her eyes glimmering, holding faith in uncharted destiny awaiting beyond gate. Triyu Van closes procession, blade drawn, prepared to strike should unseen threats appear suddenly. Behind them sea of sword stars slowly fades, leaving only memory of brilliant trial endured. As bridge ends, a vast archway materializes, carved from condensed starlight and sword law. Symbols on archway pulse slowly, syncing with beats of Tran Deep's newly forged spark. He senses upcoming challenges hidden deeper, beyond comprehension of mortal cultivation previously known. Yet his heart steady, remembering vow to wield sword for light, not darkness anymore. Lian Hyeong tightens grip on talisman, whispering silent prayer to celestial guardians above. Triyu Van exhales quietly, focusing mind, centering spirit before stepping into unknown labyrinth awaiting. Together they cross threshold, starlight wrapping them like cocoon, carrying to next dimension unseen. Echoes of sea of sword stars linger behind, promising return someday under changed forms. Tran Deep glances once more at fading realm, gratitude rising for lessons painfully learned today. With unshakable resolve, trio vanishes beyond cosmic archway, beginning chapter of destiny renewed. Tran Deep stands before the shimmering star fog, sensing the vast energy surrounding their path. Lian Hyeong whispers softly, feeling cosmic vibrations echoing through her veins like ancient forgotten songs. Triyu Van grips his sword tightly, scanning the floating starstones forming endless orbits. The trio steps onto a bridge of light, each footfall resonating with the star's pulse. Tran Deep touches a floating crystal, icy energy piercing his palm, revealing hidden stellar memories. Lian Hiong channels purple light from fingertips, unlocking harmonic chimes within crystalline structures. Triyuvan counts starstone movements, decoding an enormous celestial formation surrounding them completely. Constellation patterns shift above, unveiling a hidden door formed from spinning cosmic fragments. A glowing gate appears ahead, etched with swords and stars intertwined as one. Lian Hiong gasps quietly, recognizing the symbol of the Ninefold Stargate Challenge. Dipe steadies his breath, feeling destiny urging him to step forward. Triyuvan declares firmly they must enter together or risk eternal separation forever. All three cross into the luminous threshold, instantly engulfed by swirling lights. They emerge upon a vast ocean suspended within a glittering void. Each wave mirrors fragments of their past lives, shimmering like silver mirrors. Dipe sees himself as a lonely child yearning for strength and freedom. Lian Hiong beholds the moment she left her family, seeking spiritual liberation beyond tradition. Triyuvan confronts his battlefield memories, comrades falling under burning skies. Voices whispered doubts, luring their hearts into despair and self-loathing. Dipe closes his eyes, embracing his past without fear or rejection. Lian Hiong transforms her memories into violet lotus blossoms floating above. Triyuvan roars defiantly, slicing illusions with a blazing arc of swordlight. The ocean dissolves, leaving only brilliant radiance guiding them forward. A fiery landscape appears, molten rivers and erupting volcanoes blazing endlessly. Creatures of living flame rise, roaring from molten depths, eyes burning cosmic fury. Dipe invokes starsword currents, forming thousands of flaming sword comets swirling. Lian Hiong summons fire lotus arrays, spinning protective blossoms against searing heat. Triyuvan wields triple sunsword technique, splitting molten beasts with dazzling arcs. The creatures reform stronger each time, testing endurance and strategic unity. Dipe recalls lessons of harmony, shifting from destruction to absorption technique. He draws flames inward, merging them with star essence within his core. Lian Hiong follows suit, absorbing searing energy into her violet blossoms gracefully. Triyuvan transforms attacks into defense, anchoring their circle of power. The volcanoes cool, transforming into crystal pillars glowing with stored heat. A third gate opens beyond, beckoning them with silent promise. They step into a labyrinth of stars, walls shifting in infinite permutations. Every corridor leads to countless constellations, only one true path exists ahead. Dipe traces starsword lines, connecting stellar points to reveal hidden route. Lian Hiong senses harmonic tones, aligning herself with cosmic resonance. Triyuvan marks each false doorway with his sword's blazing tip. Together they find the exit. Stepping through to the next trial, illusions shatter, revealing a barren plane dividing them into three separate spaces. Each perceives the other as betrayer, blades drawn against phantom enemies. Dipe steadies his heart, calling their true names loudly across void. Lian Hiong feels his voice, dispelling shadow from her sight. Triyuvan lowers his sword, realizing the deception dissolving like mist. The three reunite, breaking the trial of trust with unshakable bonds. Time slows to a crawl, one day equaling centuries around them. Meditation becomes their weapon, stillness their only anchor within temporal tides. Dipe leads breathing cycles, holding their minds unbroken through endless hours. Lian Hiong aligns her lotus pulses with cosmic heartbeats surrounding them. Triyuvan anchors his sword in void, serving as time's pivot. The centuries collapse into seconds, revealing a shimmering star lake ahead. Star Lake drains their energy with each step forward across luminous surface. Dipe uses spiral breathing technique, sustaining inner reserves against draining pull. Lian Hiong taps hidden reserves of starlit nectar within her lotus seeds. Triyuvan channels battlefield discipline, enduring exhaustion through sheer willpower. They cross together, emerging stronger and more attuned to star essence. Millions of swords appear, hovering like a galaxy forged from steel. Each sword whispers a doctrine, tempting them with forbidden knowledge. Dipe chooses one single sword path, ignoring countless seductive voices. Lian Hiong shields herself with violet lotus petals against sharp doctrines. Triyuvan deflects stray blades, his mind fixed on chosen purpose. The swords part respectfully, letting them pass untouched toward next gate. A sonic storm erupts, billions of voices praising, condemning, seducing, simultaneously. Dipe channels Starsword Heart Sound, emitting a pure note of clarity. Lian Hiong harmonizes her lotus mantra with the sound, amplifying purity. Triyuvan joins their resonance, creating a protective cord around all three. The storm dissolves into silence, unveiling the final colossal gate. Before the ninth gate stands a figure cloaked in cosmic radiance. Its eyes contain galaxies, its blade forged from stellar dawn. The entity speaks, demanding their true intention beyond power or victory. Turndipe closes eyes, reliving entire journey from humble start to present. He recalls his vow, wield sword for protection, never for blind destruction. Lian Haiong feels tears forming, sensing his sincerity resonate across void. Triyu Van lowers his weapon, bowing respectfully before Cosmic Sentinel. Turndipe kneels, placing sword on ground, offering heart instead of strength. I seek understanding, not dominion, he declares, voice steady and clear. The figure smiles faintly, dissolving into countless starlit fragments merging with gate. The colossal gate shudders, opening a narrow passage bathed in dawn light. Lian Haiong reaches for Turndipe's hand, steady warmth between them. Triyu Van steps beside them, united by trials and trust unbroken. They enter together, leaving behind the tests of the ninefold Stargate. Inside lies a domain of shimmering constellations woven into lotus patterns. An enormous sword pierces the sky above, radiating timeless authority. Streams of cosmic nectar flow from its hilt, feeding the star lotus. Turndipe senses a new chapter unfolding, destiny's threads tightening around him. Lian Haiong feels her cultivation surge, merging with celestial music inside domain. Triyu Van gazes upward, awed by magnitude of what lies ahead. They walk along a path of light, each step echoing future battles. The lotus petals lift beneath their feet, carrying them toward the sword. Starlit winds brush their faces, whispering secrets older than galaxies. Their eyes meet, silent acknowledgement of shared purpose beyond personal gain. Turndipe reaches inward, feeling star sword pulse attuning perfectly to realm. Lian Haiong extends her aura, weaving protective patterns of violet starlight. Triyu Van anchors their formation, sensing distant adversaries watching from beyond. The colossal sword ahead hums, recognizing worthy seekers approaching its domain. A new trial is about to begin, yet hope burns bright within. Together, they brace for unknown revelations shimmering just beyond perception. The ninefold Stargate closes behind them, sealing their past and forging destiny. Turndipe, Lian Haiong and Triyu Van stepped into a luminous realm beyond the nine gates. Before them stretched a vast glowing lotus plain, shimmering like a cosmic ocean under endless stars. A colossal sword pierced the sky, engraved with ancient runes, pulsing like a giant heart. Lian Haiong touched a radiant petal, warmth spreading through her meridians with gentle vibrating energy. Triyu Van's hand gripped his sword tighter, sensing resonating waves echoing from the immense blade. Turndipe closed his eyes, feeling streams of starlight entering his dantian with rhythmic pulses. Their footsteps rose onto shining stairs, each step unveiling swirling characters of forgotten sword lore. The characters floated upward, merging into their bodies, whispering ancient secrets of cosmic swordsmanship. Lian Haiong whispered, marveling at the sacred atmosphere surrounding their ascending glowing staircase path. Triyu Van warned that unseen eyes observed them, hidden within folds of dimensional energy fields. Turndipe nodded silently, sharpening his senses, his aura blending with the starry realm. Higher they climbed, air thinned, but spiritual energy grew heavier, pressing against their skin. Silver streams wrapped around them, testing determination and heart through shimmering layers of examination. 99 steps ended at a circular plaza paved with translucent crystalline stones. In the plaza's center lay a small sword radiating silver light, unlike the towering blade. Turndipe's heartbeat raced, sensing deep familiarity calling him toward the mysterious tiny sword. A voice echoed inside his mind, requesting him to prove his heart's sincerity. Lian Haiong and Triyu Van also heard the same resonant command across their consciousness. Turndipe extended his fingers, touching the sword's hilt, unleashing a radiant eruption. Light engulfed the plaza, spinning him into a vortex of endless mirrored images. He saw countless versions of himself crying, fighting, struggling, or seeking ultimate understanding. The voice demanded identity, challenging his deepest purpose and reason for wielding a blade. Turndipe declared himself a seeker of Tao, not a conqueror of lives. Images dissolved, the sword vibrated once and transformed into a streak of light. That light entered his dantian, pouring cosmic patterns into his mind like waterfalls. Thousands of runes and star maps appeared, revealing the Kimtheon technique's full structure. Sweat rolled down his forehead, but silver light glimmered fiercely within his pupils. Lian Aqiang approached, asking if he was unharmed, worry coloring her gentle voice. Turn Dipe replied, he had gained ancient sword knowledge fusing starlight with supreme intent. Triyuvan's lips curled slightly, acknowledging their journey had become truly worthwhile indeed. The ground trembled violently, colossal sword roaring thunder like a living celestial beast. A rift tore open, spilling black mist coiling upward in monstrous twisting spirals. From the darkness emerged a gigantic armored figure with eyes like devouring voids. His voice boomed, accusing them of stealing forbidden legacy without rightful price. Turn Dipe raised his new sword, feeling power coursing like molten stars inside. Lian Aqiang conjured protective lotus walls, violet petals glowing under oppressive darkness. Triyuvan unsheathed his weapon ready to unleash fiery sword formations against incoming threat. The giant stepped forward, quaking plaza stones, scrutinizing them with abyssal gaze. He declared only pure-hearted could wield the celestial sword's legacy of timeless balance. Turn Dipe accepted challenge, stating his courage unwavering and intentions honorable. Thousands of black sword beams rained like meteor showers, crashing toward three companions. Lian Han Lotus Barrier absorbed impacts, shimmering then fracturing under relentless strikes. Triyuvan unleashed Three Suns Fire Sword, slicing multiple shadows apart at once. Turn Dipe invoked Kim Theon, creating spiral vortex, absorbing every dark blade. Energy compressed into a silver sphere then exploded, dispersing corruption outward. The armored giant growled astonished, sensing authentic cosmic sword comprehension. Turn Dipe lowered his blade, explaining he sought learning, not destruction. The giant examined his eyes, then nodded slowly, fading into crystal fragments. Those fragments rose, merging with the colossal sword sealing dark rift. Plaza calmed, black mist dissolving into harmless sparkling dust particles. Celestial Sword emitted a pure chime, unveiling a curved radiant doorway. Inside doorway spiraled swirling galaxies of condensed luminous energy. Lian Aqiang whispered, identifying entrance to the Star Dao's central sanctum. Triyuvan gestured to Turn Dipe to lead their passage beyond. The three clasped hands, reaffirming unity before stepping forward together. Turn Dipe gazed back once, absorbing sacred plaza memory permanently. He felt gratitude toward trials forging his heart and blade. Their figures merged with bright vortex crossing threshold of unknown dimension. Darkness greeted them, punctuated by endless glittering eyes, watching silently. Yet determination burned stronger than fear within their intertwined souls. Stars rearranged, forming symbols hinting at ancient prophecy ahead. Their footsteps echoed softly across invisible bridge of light. Lian Han aura expanded, sensing subtle harmonies guiding direction inward. Triyuvan's flames flickered, revealing hidden runes etched in void. Turn Dipe steadied breathing, centering cosmic currents within channels. Echoes of celestial sword chants reverberated around endless space. They remembered hardships endured climbing 99 illuminated steps. New knowledge pulsed within Turn Dipe's veins like fire. He vowed to master Kim Theon, fully protecting companions always. Black silhouettes whispered distant threats from forgotten wars. Lian Aqiang strengthened barriers, shielding them from subtle intrusion. Triyuvan sharpened senses, preparing countermeasures if attacked suddenly. Ahead shimmered another gate shaped like twin stars. Symbols aligned, opening pathways, connecting unseen constellations beyond. Each breath felt heavier, carrying entire universe's weight. Yet trust among them created unbreakable protective field. Light flared around Turn Dipe's new sword, resonating harmoniously. He glimpsed shadow memories of ancient sword wielders past. Voices murmured fragments of destiny waiting to unfold. Lian Aqiang caught sight of distant floating islands shimmering. Triyuvan recognized pattern resembling celestial maps previously studied. They realized trial was only prelude to greater truth. Doorways multiplied, forming labyrinth of glowing arches before. Each arch promised knowledge, danger, and transformative tests. Turn Dipe's heart remained steady, guiding steps unwaveringly forward. Companion's faith reinforced his inner calm and focus. Silver ripples spread underfoot, mapping invisible, sacred geometry. Their silhouettes shone, blending with starfield background seamlessly. Energy strings tied them together across shifting dimensions. Distant thunder hinted at slumbering guardian awakening soon. Yet hope glimmered stronger with each stride they took. Celestial Sword hummed softly, encouraging their courageous advance. They approached central core, glowing brighter than suns. Air vibrated, containing memories of ancient cosmic duels. Lian Aqiang tightened grips, sensing climactic encounter. Near, Triyuvan breathed deeply, summoning inner fire once again. Turn Deep envisioned future, where sword meant universal harmony. Their combined lights formed triangular shield, deflecting temporal currents. Pathway converged into single point of dazzling radiance ahead. Together they stepped into destiny, leaving behind the sacred plaza's echoes forever. Trant Deep opened his eyes, discovering a galaxy river swirling endlessly with silver-blue light. Stars glittered like drifting dust, forming a path glowing beneath their cautious, determined footsteps together. Lin Wang gasped softly, never imagining stepping into the core of such vast cosmic realm. Tru Van steadied his sword, sensing ancient forces hidden behind every shimmering particle of starlight. Endless sword-shaped columns lined both sides of the path, humming with subtle celestial vibrations. Each column pulsed rhythmically, echoing forgotten battles of immortal swordsmen from countless vanished ages. Trant Deep closed his eyes, linking his breathing to sword columns through new technique learned. Memory fragments of cosmic duels flooded him, teaching patterns of long-lost stellar sword methods. Lin Wang whispered, feeling invisible eyes following them, like constellations silently judging their hearts. Tru Van nodded grimly, gripping his sword tighter, ready for any approaching celestial challenge. Suddenly, the columns trembled, light cracking apart, releasing figures forged entirely of star energy. Ancient sword spirits emerged, clad in stellar armor, eyes hollow yet burning with cosmic fire. One spirit stepped forward, voice thunderous, proclaiming trial of 10,000 star sword array. Only pure-hearted warriors of steadfast will may pass this ultimate sacred cosmic formation unharmed. Trant Deep inhaled deeply, feeling sword intent circulating, merging with currents of shimmering starlight. His blade resonated, producing a soft tone, opening small gaps within approaching radiant walls. Tru Van unleashed his Three Suns flame sword, burning through scattered streams of swordlight. Lin Wang summoned Violet Lotus Barrier, deflecting raining celestial shards from above their heads. Sword array shifted, turning beams into countless tiny meteors, striking relentlessly from all sides. Trant Deep whispered, he sought harmony, not conquest, calming part of the violent array. A narrow corridor opened, shimmering like moonlight, leading deeper toward the galaxy's central heart. He signaled companions, aligning their breathing and merging three auras into one flowing stream. Together they moved through corridor, sword spirits, watching silently, testing their unity and courage. Midway, a giant sword spirit blocked path, wielding a blade like blazing comet. Voice echoed, demanding they demonstrate true courage beyond harmony to earn passage beyond. Blade descended, splitting space, forcing Trant Deep to raise his own celestial sword immediately. Collision shook corridor like thunderclap, waves of energy rippling across endless cosmic bridges. Lin Wang reinforced barrier while Tru Van attacked from flank with spiraling solar strikes. Pressure grew immense, but Trant Deep's heart remained calm, centering on infinite starlit flow. He invoked Heavenly Sword. Confluence of stars merging countless lights into one river. Sword energy surged, enveloping Comet Blade, dissolving fury into gentle silver streams of harmony. Giant sword spirit paused, eyes flickering recognition, then shattered into countless glowing fragments around them. Array trembled, pillars dimming, echoing sound like distant bells announcing end of test. All sword spirits bowed in unison, acknowledging mastery of stellar path achieved before them. Before trio appeared enormous luminous door carved with countless constellations of forgotten languages. Soft currents flowed from door carrying timeless scent of dawn, memory, and future. Lin Wang smiled faintly, whispering this must be the Star River's ultimate sacred center. Tru Van placed steady hand on Trant Deep's shoulder, acknowledging his guidance and growth. Trant Deep remained silent, feeling heartbeat synchronize with blade and endless swirling cosmos beyond. He approached door, sword glowing brighter, resonating with runes etched across its towering frame. Light gathered around trio like waterfalls of stardust pouring over their worn robes. Door responded with a long chime, unfolding its surface like opening twin galaxies. Beyond doorway spun vast darkness filled with rotating spheres of memory and power. Each sphere flickered scenes of civilizations lost, stars born and swords forged from suns. Trant Deep turned back briefly, eyes capturing entire sword graveyard etched into his soul. Lin Wang's hands trembled, sensing weight of destinies converging upon this decisive moment now. Tru Van exhaled deeply, steadying his internal fire, preparing for whatever lay beyond portal. Together they stepped forward, merging their lights, vanishing into corridor of flowing stellar radiance. Starlight wrapped them like silk, erasing all sense of weight and physical limitation entirely. Whispers of countless masters echoed encouragement, warning, and hopes inside their merging consciousness streams. Infinite stairways of light unfolded, carrying them deeper toward center of cosmic truth. Tran Deep's new sword hummed softly, projecting protective aura enveloping three travelers completely. Lin Wang closed eyes, sensing subtle harmonies guiding their trajectory through void corridors. Tru Van traced runes in air, anchoring their position amid shifting constellations continuously. Ahead shimmered a pulsing star core, glowing brighter than everything else in existence combined. They felt gravitational pull of knowledge, drawing them closer to hidden origin within. Memories of trials flashed across their minds, reminding them cost of every step taken. Yet determination strengthened, forging unbreakable bond, deeper than mortal ties or fleeting ambition. Tran Deep whispered vow to protect companions and Master Sword's destiny for universal harmony. Sword answered with radiant arc carving, luminous path straight toward the heart of cosmos. Streams of violet and gold light intertwined, forming braided bridge across swirling stardust ocean. They crossed bridge slowly, hearts steady, each footstep echoing like drums of fate. Glowing silhouettes of past warriors appeared saluting them as they passed in silence. Lin Wang's aura expanded, forming lotus petals, absorbing stray energies drifting around corridor. Tru Van's flames danced lightly, deflecting meteor sparks from unstable energy pockets nearby. Ahead opened wide chamber with transparent floor revealing galaxies spinning beneath their feet. Walls glowed with ancient inscriptions, whispering stories of countless immortal swords forged here. Tran Deep touched one rune, feeling surge of knowledge about balance between destruction and creation. Lin Wang glimpsed future visions of flowering universes born from single sword stroke. Tru Van sensed endless duels echoing across time, sharpening his resolve to grow stronger. Chamber's center held another luminous door shaped like merging twin constellations entwined gracefully. Sword energy pulsed from door, calling them, promising revelation beyond mortal understanding or endurance. Tran Deep inhaled deeply, adjusting his stance, feeling calm before another threshold of destiny. He raised sword, aligning its tip with center of glowing door's radiant symbol. Lin Wang and Tru Van placed hands on his shoulders, joining their energies again. Door vibrated, producing harmonic tone, shaking entire chamber like celestial bells ringing timelessly. Light erupted from symbol, expanding outward in ripples of blinding silver brilliance. Space folded around them, forming spiral staircase of shining crystal connecting to unknown height. They climbed together, each step compressing centuries of training into single heartbeat of progress. Sword spirits faded, leaving only echoes of encouragement and silent expectation swirling around. Tran Deep's focus sharpened beyond fear or doubt, seeing only path forward illuminated brightly. Lin Wang's lotus aura integrated with stare light, weaving protective cocoon surrounding their group. Tru Van's fire became gentle warmth, stabilizing time distortion along infinite ascent corridor. Higher they went, heavier yet purer became energy, testing every fiber of their beings. Finally, staircase ended at platform shaped like colossal lotus of interlocking stars. In platforms, center floated a seed of light pulsating like unborn cosmic heart. Tran Deep approached seed, sensing resonance with his sword and very soul deeply. Lin Wang whispered she felt infinite compassion emanating from that radiant seed. Tru Van murmured perhaps this was true origin of Star Tao beyond myth. Seed opened, releasing wave of luminous symbols wrapping around trio like flowing rivers. Symbols entered their minds, revealing fragments of supreme technique lost for eons entirely. Their bodies trembled, absorbing power. But hearts remained steady, holding intention of harmony. Sword in Tran Deep's hand transformed, shifting colors, like living rainbow forged of stars. Platform itself glowed brighter, projecting map of infinite universes upon surrounding darkness everywhere. Voices of countless ancestors merged into single chord, blessing their journey forward eternally. They realized they had crossed beyond trial, now standing inside pure essence of Tao. Tran Deep lifted sword high, vowing to use power only for balance and protection. Lin Hong and Tru Van echoed vow, weaving their energies with his unbreakably. Together they turned toward next door of destiny, shimmering ahead beyond Star Lotus platform. With unified hearts they stepped forward, leaving behind echoes of sword graveyard and trials forever. Tran Deep awakens within shimmering starlight, sensing a mysterious realms pulled deeper than before. Beside him, Lin Huang steadies her breath, clutching her blade with silent anticipation of danger. Tru Van closes his eyes, regulating core energy, feeling cosmic pressure pressing around their bodies. They stand upon a glass-like platform above swirling galaxies, resembling lotus petals radiating infinite light. Each lotus petal bears ancient runes glowing faintly, exuding unseen power shaping cosmic destiny. Tran Deep steps forward, sword humming softly, responding to mysterious call echoing through endless void. Lin Wang gazes wide-eyed at infinite expanse, sensing forgotten civilizations echoing inside luminous symbols. Tru Van rests hand on hilt, silent and alert, scanning shifting stars for hidden threats. "Where are we now?" whispers Lin Wang, voice trembling beneath dazzling celestial brilliance surrounding them. "Heart of the starfield," Tran Deep replies, eyes firm, recalling old master's prophetic words. Tru Van mutters darkly, "If true, secrets greater than legends must hide within this place." Lotus petals fold slowly into luminous stairs, leading toward a radiant pillar of light. Inside that pillar float countless sword fragments, glimmering memories of past cosmic wars unending. As they near, memories flash. A giant swordsman slicing galaxies apart with infinite strike. Another vision shows thousands of stars arranged as a formation forming one colossal blade. Countless cultivators kneeling beneath an immense sword flowing silver rivers across eternal space. Lin Wang gasps softly, "Are these real? The true history of the sword path?" Tran Deep's eyes blaze, silent, knowing this place holds keys to transcendence and truth. Tru Van touches a shard. Instantly sword energy erupts, forming colossal swordsman apparition. That apparition's eyes contain universes, voice thundering, prove heart of sword or face destruction. A chill courses their spines as all three draw blades, simultaneously, determination unwavering. Swords sing together, harmonizing with cosmic frequencies resonating across luminous stairways' edges. Tran Deep nods firmly, "Hold your hearts steady. This test decides our star path." Giant swordsman raises sword, slashing blinding arc containing billions of stellar fragments. Space shatters silently like brittle glass, swirling fragments drifting around glowing stairway. Tran Deep channels entire newfound sword intent, weaving galactic streams into his strike. Tru Van unleashes triple sunflame sword, arcs of fire intercepting stellar fragments. Lin Wang summons violet lotus shields, layering defenses before cosmic torrent surges closer. They clash without sound, only light colliding, breaking and reforming like dancing constellations. Tran Deep feels cells dissolving into star sea, his will merging with universal flow. Each motion reshapes surrounding galaxies, sword energy pulsing like heartbeat of reality itself. He realizes sword transcends weapon, representing cosmic rhythm dividing and uniting existence. "If I merge fully, I command space itself," he thinks, eyes glowing blue. He roars, sword bursting green-silver light, a river of stars cutting across void. Tru Van and Lin Wang pour strength into Tran Deep's strike, weaving powers together. Their combined energies form one immense column-piercing swordsman's galactic blade apart completely. Swordsman halts, gaze softening, then dissolves into countless sparks, returning to radiant pillar. Tower trembles, pillar cracking to reveal spiral path descending into lunar glow. "We passed the test," whispers Lin Huang, knees trembling under residual pressure. "Not over yet," Tran Deep mutters, eyes locked on descending path glowing below. Tru Van chuckles lightly, "We've come too far to stop now." Brothers and sister, they step onto spiral path, stars swirling around as gravity shifts strangely. Chamber below reveals spherical core pulsating like a living galactic heart. Its surface engraved with celestial lines forming language older than immortal ages. Tran Deep's sword vibrates violently, resonating with the sphere's deep cosmic heartbeat. Lin Wang's pulse matches sphere's rhythm, sensing its immense power, whispering in silence. Tru Van feels flames rising within, tripling, like sunstorms answering unknown call. "This is," Tran Deep murmurs, softly, "the origin of Star Sword Galaxy." Voice echoes, genderless, everywhere. "Place your sword here. Choose your destiny." Tran Deep gazes at blade forged through endless struggles, memories flickering within steel. He steps forward, placing sword tip upon luminous sphere, slowly, deliberately. Light erupts, chamber dissolving into endless star ocean surrounding his consciousness. Countless versions of Tran Deep appear, each living different choices across infinite universes. Some as tyrants, some as sages, some eternally failing but still wielding swords. He sees Lin Huang and Tru Van transforming into light streams joining his flow. All three drawn toward sphere's center, merging destinies, dissolving boundaries between souls. Another voice speaks. "Balance or destruction. Choose now." Memories of battles, mentors, Fallen comrades surge through Tran Deep's heart. He inhales slowly, clarity crystallizing beyond doubt and fear. I choose balance, he declares, words resonating like thunder across infinite cosmos. Instantly sphere shifts color from silver to emerald to golden flame. It contracts into small shining seed, flying into Tran Deep's chest softly. Power surges through him, reshaping sword into transparent galaxy blade, glowing inwardly. Each breath expands space. Each thought forms constellations rotating around his body. Lin Huang and Tru Van collapse, overwhelmed by radiant force, yet unharmed. They feel protective warmth, not destructive shockwaves, wrapping their bodies gently. Tran Deep's eyes now hold stars and storms, merging heaven and earth essence. Sphere vanishes. Chamber steadies, new doorway opening with shimmering threshold. We've reached the core, whispers Tran Deep, gripping transformed sword tightly. Another step and everything changes, murmurs Lin Huang, steadying trembling hands. Then let's finish, Tru Van smiles, courage shining like sunrise on steel. They cross doorway, engulfed by light bending time and space simultaneously. Outside, galaxies shift, sensing emergence of a new legend rewriting cosmic pathways. They awaken upon misty plain, filled with colossal stone pillars inscribed with runes. Beyond pillars stands empty throne, backdrop swirling with dark vortex of stars. Lin Huang shivers. What is this place? Feels beyond mortal comprehension. Tru Van narrows eyes. We entered a higher layer. Decision realm of destiny. Tran Deep feels sword pulse gently, warning him of final truths approaching. Air thickens, each breath like inhaling cosmic history condensed into timeless particles. They advance slowly, steps echoing within silent boundless expanse. Mysterious whispers coil around, promising power, testing convictions quietly. Tran Deep centers his mind, recalling balance he chose within sphere. Lin Huang steadies herself beside him, projecting violet light shields outward. Tru Van ignites flame runes upon his arms, determination unshaken despite unknown. Ahead glows a sigil shaped like interlocking swords and stars. Sigil pulses invitingly, but hides subtle traps for wavering hearts. Stay aligned, Tran Deep instructs, voice low but unyielding. They form triangle stance, synchronizing breaths, stepping toward sigil slowly. Energy rises beneath their feet, wrapping ankles with luminous chains. Chains test their will, pulling memories of fears and failures outward. Tran Deep cuts his chain with thought alone, blade singing silently. Lin Huang breathes deep, dissolving hers with pure violet flame. Tru Van roars, burning his chains with triple suns bursting outward. Freed, they reach sigil's center, triggering surge of starlight upward. Starlight forms staircase ascending beyond throne toward endless horizon. Tran Deep glances back at companions, nodding once with resolute calm. They ascend together, hearts synchronized, swords shimmering with newborn cosmic essence. Mist clears, revealing next domain's outline shimmering like dream yet beckoning strongly. Another journey awaits, whispers Tran Deep, gripping transformed sword in steady hand. Their silhouettes vanish into higher realms' radiance, forging legend among eternal stars forever.